Welcome everybody to the March General Meeting. I'm glad you all are here joining us today. Again, if you haven't done so already, please make sure that you sign into the chat. But we'll go ahead and get started. So today we're going to kind of focus on MHMR services. So it's kind of been expressed that it can be sometimes a little difficult to get clients connected to MHMR services. So today we're going to hear from Miss Laura Schwarzendruber, and I'm so sorry if I butchered your last name.
Nope, you did it perfect.
What? First time?
No, yeah, I'm impressed.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. And so we're going to hear from her today, and she's going to just be discussing, mental health services that are available through MHMR, how to get clients connected or how to get them to access those services. And she's also going to touch on visits and med refills just for today. And then also after we hear from her, we're going to hear from two guest speakers. So one will be Gary Wilkerson from When We Love, and then Jordan Alsup from Cleanup. And they're going to talk to us about their agencies and the services that they provide to help assist our homeless community. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started and turn it over to Miss Laura with MHMR.
All right, nice to meet all of you and nice to see all of you. My name is Laura Schwarzendruber. I'm the Interim Director of Medical Outpatient Clinics. So I oversee all of our outpatient behavioral health clinics in Tarrant County. We have 13 of them. So that's for our adult section. We do have youth populations that we serve as well, which we have two clinics in Tarrant County for them as well. I really kind of wanted to get an idea of who I'm talking to today. I can see that there's a lot of people on here from different organizations, but then also am I talking to case managers from your program as well?
Yep, you got a lot of case managers, shelter case managers, housing case managers, frontline staff, everything in between.
Cool.
Program managers.
Oh, everybody. All right. So a little bit about MHMR. So obviously, I think most of you know we serve patients with behavioral health needs. We also serve patients with disorders, so intellectual disabilities, as well as our substance use programs. The population that I wanted to talk to you most about today was just our adult behavioral health patients and what we can do with them. So I know that Shannon has expressed that you guys were having some trouble getting patients into our services. And then making sure also that they could get their medications filled and whatnot. So the way that we do things, so we have, most importantly, our Lancaster location and our Penn Square location are both our main homeless populations that go there. They're served there. We also offer integrated health services within those two clinics. Those are both part-time, so that's through JPS and Acclaim. So we're able to see patients not only for their behavioral health, but as well as their medical health. So that's been very beneficial for us because generally we'll send them out, somewhere else and then not know, what they're doing and how they're feeling after that. So in order to establish care with us, patients are needing to call the iCare call line. I'm not sure if any of y'all are familiar with that. That's our crisis line. I can give you the number here in a minute, but they need to call that number at this point to schedule an intake. And when they do that, they'll be screened over the phone. And once they're screened, then they'll be scheduled for an intake within the next couple of days. I know in the past, pre-COVID, we had patients that were able to walk into any of our clinics or locations and be seen for an intake. But then with COVID, we obviously had to take a step back and pull that back into our one location. And so we do that. Our one location that we're doing intakes from in person is our Hewlin location. You also can have patients walk into the homeless clinic on Lancaster. They can be seen for a walk-in intake, but that's case by case, and on the need of the clinic. If they have the availability, then they're able to do that. I just don't know that they'd be guaranteed that same day. So if they were to call the call line, then they would be scheduled and guaranteed an appointment for an intake. Any questions on that before I keep moving forward?
Laura, is this for our Fort Worth only, or just how does the process work in Arlington?
So in Arlington, we have a clinic in Arlington still, and we were doing walk-in evals there prior to COVID happening. Once April 1st comes around and all the changes happen with Medicaid and Medicare, then we're going to have to look at that again and possibly reopen that access point. But at this point, if you are wanting to get a patient into MHMR, they would need to call that eye care line for all of Tarrant County, not just Fort Worth. So that would include Arlington. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Some of our clients, you say that they're able to get an appointment within 1 to 2 days. Some of them get appointments for a month later.
Okay. Do you know, is that through our access to care location that they're having that?
So they will walk over to the one on Lancaster, right across from UGM, and they're told to come back, call the eye care line, and then their appointment is scheduled out for a month later.
Okay. Yeah, that is something I know that we were not. So when they walk into the homeless clinic location on Lancaster, they're expected to be able to do a walk-in. Now, like I said before, it's all kind of case by case and first come, first serve, depending on how many people are coming in that day for a walk-in. If they're already established care, that is my next piece. If they're established care, meaning that they've already had an intake, then they would actually just be seen as a walk-in for their provider visit. But if they're actually needing to be scheduled for an intake where they're, evaluated by one of our licensed staff to see, where they're fitting within the behavioral health model, and then scheduled for a psychiatrist appointment, then that would be the intake process. But if we're talking about patients that have already gone through that, it may have been a little bit of time in between there, and we're needing to get them seen by their psychiatrist, then that would be considered just a walk-in, and we could work them into our schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other questions before I continue?
I have a question. How long between intakes can they walk in to see an appointment? Like if they had an intake and started services 2 years ago, how long does it take before they have to do a whole nother intake?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically we go for a calendar year. So, because their diagnosis will last 1 calendar year. After that, then they would need to be reevaluated if they had lapsed their services. And typically the other thing is if we have tried to engage a patient over several, 3-4 months, and they're not keeping up with us, we're not getting any contact from them, then they will ultimately be discharged. That doesn't mean that they can't come back. It doesn't mean that we won't see them. But if it's been a whole year, then they'll have to go through the whole intake process. If it's been less than that, then we'll just schedule them with the provider for a longer appointment so that we can catch up with them and see what's been happening during that time frame. Any other questions before I move on? All right. So it kind of goes back to what I was saying. So when we talk about being assigned at a clinic, that means that they've seen a provider, especially within the last year. I think Danielle, you just brought that up. That's a very good point. We want to see patients frequently. Typically our providers are seeing patients every 1 month to every 2 months for appointments. My nature back from what I worked in before is I'm a nurse. And so typically we used to see patients kind of behind the provider. So the provider would see them and then we would see them for a follow-up visit. Because of COVID, we moved all of our nurses out into the field. So we have nursing staff out in the field that can work with patients. For our homeless population, we actually have street medicine now. So we have a grant that started back last year. And so I have a nurse that I work with. Her name is Sally, and she actually goes out into the streets, works in the camps, has a provider that she goes out with on Thursdays. They see patients for their med management appointments as well as evals. And then they're able to give them injections in the field, or, make sure that they order medicines and then she'll go pick them up and take them to them. So we have some options for that. If you have a patient that's able to come into the clinic and able to walk into either a Lancaster location or a Penn Square location, then they would be able to be seen there for their appointments, and then also to get their medications. So medications in general, it's really important. I think, kind of speaking more to the case management side of things, it's really important, even with our case managers, we work a lot for education on keeping up with their medications, consistency, the reasons that we take medications, why are we taking them? Also the need for our prescribers to see them regularly, to be able to monitor for side effects and effectiveness, as well as lab monitoring. A lot of the medications that we prescribe need to be monitored by labs, whether it's a level in their system or, potentially what it could do to their body from a metabolic standpoint. So their blood sugar, their liver, kidneys, things like that. So it's really important for us to see them. And so I think, Shannon, I know you had mentioned that there has been some issues with patients not getting their meds. I'm assuming, without knowing the whole story, I'm assuming that part of that comes back into play with how long has it been since they've been seen, what kinds of medications were they prescribed, things like that. And so prescribers, are licensed. And so if there's an issue with the medication in itself and that they haven't been seen in quite some time, the provider would want to see them to lay eyes on them, to get their labs done and things like that, to know that that medication would still be a good option for them. So does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question. So if the client was actually required to be seen or have blood work done, something like that, how would case managers know that that's what's holding up, as opposed to the client saying, I'm trying to get a refill and I can't get a refill? So that's what we're hearing on our end.
Yeah. Well, and I would ask Charlotte, my first question to them would be, when was the last time that you were seen by MHMR, to see, when did they actually see a provider? Because I think that is the main thing. You usually, if we're not seeing them, then it's hard for us to prescribe medications, because, we just, from a safety standpoint, completely, we want to make sure that they're doing okay. We want to assess them and look through that. I don't know that it even comes down to medications at that point, more so for safety reasons, to lay eyes on them. So my first question to them would be, how long has it been since you've seen your provider? And if it's been, I would say longer than 2 months, then we need to call your clinic and get an appointment made.
Okay.
Benefit of COVID has been that, all of our providers are doing telehealth right now. And so getting people in to be seen is a lot easier than it was prior to COVID. I think that was one small benefit that came from COVID, is that we were able to see so many more people, through video than we could having patients come to us. So, but, I would be more than happy to be a point of contact for you guys. If you're having trouble getting a patient in, I would be more than happy to work with you, and to coordinate that, collaborative care between us and you guys, so that you guys could get your patients seen.
Aside from, like, if a client's brand new, are medications usually prescribed for 3 months at a time, or does it greatly vary?
It greatly varies. It's all dependent on, that's a very good question. It depends on the prescriber. Some prescribers are great about giving every 3 months. It's kind of there's a couple of things. Prescribers, decisions on that, whether or not they feel comfortable with it, how the patient is doing, their acuity levels. If they're really at crisis or really acutely ill, most likely they will not give a 3-month-long prescription. They'll go, depending on their need, maybe even a week-long prescription. If we have somebody that's actively been suicidal within the past, they were discharged from the hospital, we may see them every week for a couple of months. It just kind of varies on what the patient need, and also the provider. I would say if you have somebody that's stable, that's been doing well, been taking their medications well, the provider's been seeing them often, it usually would be between 4 to 12 weeks, depending on the patient. So even sometimes 8 to 12 weeks in between appointment.
That helps. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions that you guys have?
I have a question, Laura.
Yeah.
I've been hearing that people that are trying to get services at the homeless clinic for the first time are being told that they have to be registered with JPS for JPS Connect first before they can sign up and get services through MHMR.
Okay, is that for our JPS clinic, for our integrated clinic, or is that just to be seen by an MHMR provider?
That's to be seen by an MHMR provider.
Okay, I'm not sure where that direction has come from. That is definitely not the case. Patients can be seen with or without a payer source at MHMR. We'll see anybody. So they do look at their fee assessment and, look at what kind of income they have coming in, and just, put that into their chart, but that's not something that would prohibit them to coming in. If we're talking about integrated services through JPS, we can see them one time, kind of like a pro bono type of thing. And it's agreement that we have between us and a claim in JPS. We'll see them one time, but then after that, they do need to have a payer source, whether that's JPS Connect or Medicare, Medicaid, or some sort of private insurance payer source. We can see them through that. I know that you guys have True Worth right around the corner from our Lancaster location. So a lot of our patients go there, but in the event that they would like to come to our integrated health clinics within our MHMR clinics, they would need to have some sort of payer source. We have I have a peer on staff that works with me. And so she works very hard to get patients JPS connected. She's developed a whole process. So she works with them to kind of go through that whole long, daunting application to get them, connected in a much faster fashion than it used to be. So does that answer your question, Jenny? Okay. Are there any other questions? Shannon, did I cover what you were looking for? Does that help?
Yeah, I mean, you covered the basics. I think,
Okay.
that helped for me. I know if they have more questions, they are more than welcome to ask. And I dropped your email in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to point out is that we do have our SEDS population that we serve as well. We have 3 outpatient clinics that we have. So SEDS meaning substance use disorder patients. So patients that are experiencing some sort of substance use issue. Then we are working with them as well. So we have a detox unit, which is our Billy Gregory unit. And they can be seen within, I think they'll stay there usually around seven, maybe even 10 days. And then after that, they'll move into our Pine Street location, which is more of a rehab type of program. And then once they're done with that, depending on how they're doing, they may move into one of our outpatient SED programs. And so the plan for them then is to kind of stabilize them, get them, back on their feet, and then work on them to getting into one of our outpatient behavioral health clinics. So I'm seeing, is lab work completed when completing an assessment for new clients? So we do, yes, we do ask we do ask for patients to be seen for labs. We've had labs in the past that were scheduled routinely for patients at all of our clinics. Again, because of COVID, we had to decrease that. And so now we're opening that back up as of, I think it's March 29th. So we're gonna have much more access to labs being done. But we partner with CPL, and so we're able to do lab work for patients, usually within the week of them being seen. Yeah, so Elizabeth, I see your question. For getting somebody into treatment, yes, they would call the iCare call line and they could work them into that schedule. It's a little different than being evaluated by our psychiatrist or our licensed practitioners. Are there any other questions? No? Okay. That's really what I had for you guys. I know, thank you, Shannon, for putting my email in there. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll also put in my cell phone in the chat just so that you guys can call me anytime if you have any problems with gaining access. I definitely want to make sure that you guys are able to get your patients seen. Rachel, let me see. Can anyone be referred to homeless clinic? Any criteria? So theoretically, anyone can go to the homeless clinic. They don't have to be homeless. It's just, I would say like 98% of the patients that we serve there are homeless. So a lot of them are within the camps or within one of the shelters there. But no, they don't actually have to be homeless. It's typically just kind of dependent on their location where they live. Some patients I worked at our Mid-Cities location for a long time. And I would have patients clear across town just because they wanted to stay with the same provider. So they would just travel back and forth because they were so attached to their provider. So, any other questions? I don't want to jump off until you guys have all your questions answered. Is there anything that we could do better to serve your patients? Any other hurdles that you guys have run into besides medications or gaining access?
I have a question. When you have a client with IDD, what's the best route to send them to the clinic so they can get it, assessed and then go from there?
Yeah.
And because they have a unique situation where we're having trouble with the housing piece for them, because
Okay.
I'm guessing it would be a group home situation, but wondering if there are other options for independent living where they would have, for those who could, I'm assuming they could get a peer, MHMR peer, but I guess to me, a lot of the things that MHMR offers go outside of what we all see on a regular basis. And we're not really aware of all the different services.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we could just kind of peek inside to see.
Yeah. Well, and I think you guys collaborating with our case managers, I think would be really helpful to be able to say like, hey, you know, this is what we're working on, you know, we do to collaborate and build that relationship between the two of us. I think that would help. Specifically with our IDD population, yes, they would still need to be evaluated and assessed and all of that, you know, go through the typical process. But we do offer, you know, there are group homes that we have within MHMR that we're able to get patients into for our IDD population that are managed by MHMR. That differs from the population in our behavioral health only clinics where they may go into a group home. Those group homes are not state run. It could be run by any of our other patients. I mean, sometimes we'll have these group homes that are not mandated that call themselves a group home, and I'm sure you guys have seen that before. And so very different from the IDD population.
Do they need income? I'm sorry. Do they need income to qualify?
I don't know, you know, Charlotte, I don't know about the IDD side as well, but I could definitely find that out and get that back to you guys. I could send that over to you, Shannon, so that you could disseminate that. But I will say for the other ones, yes, they do have to have some sort of payer source to be able to pay to live there. So
Thank you.
I'll definitely find that out. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and if you have a contact on the IDD side that you wouldn't mind sharing, we're actually trying to find that out. And I've already bothered one of your folks, Evan Ellis.
Oh yeah.
TCHC to see if she can find somebody. I don't want her to kill herself. And I thought, well, since you're here, I might.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'll definitely get that for you.
And I can tell her to call off the search.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a large organization for sure. So.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, that's something that we're working really hard on is to not be so siloed and not, you know, we have all these different divisions. And I think that's been difficult because not even us, we know, you know, and so I think we're having to all learn what each other does and open our arms up a little bit bigger. So
I will tell you, Charlotte, I did find out.
Hi, Laura. Sorry, I didn't even know you were here. I'm sorry, Evan.
So they do have to have income. Okay. And if their income is SSI, they also have to have a payee. And so that limits some people from wanting to choose that option.
Okay, that makes sense. I knew the part about the payee, but it's been a long time. So, okay. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And then
it's like
if
a celebrity now, that's funny.
The contact, then maybe it's somebody that we can refer when we have clients until we kind of get the gist a little bit of the system and just a little bit of inside scoop. Basically, if one of us has a client and can walk through, we can share it with the others. So yeah. Thank you, both of you.
Yeah, I'll get that over. And maybe Evan, you and I can collaborate too and see if there's anything that, you know, you might know differently than I do, but I'll definitely get that information to Shannon. Are there any other, let me see, do you have hours for the homeless clinic? So the hours for our clinics, most of our clinics are typically 8 to 5. A couple of our clinics, I think Penn has a day or two that is later. You know, some of them have opened up access to later appointments, but I believe our homeless clinic is still typically 8 to 5. All right.
Nobody else has any other questions for Ms. Laura before we let her go.
Let me give you guys my cell phone number just in case. It's 214, I'll put it in the chat too, but 214-680-9714. And then you guys can call me if you have anything that comes up where I can help you get your patients connected to wherever they need to be. Oh, I think that went to Rachel. Let me give it to everybody.
Then I think you had one last question. It was, will telehealth continue after COVID?
Yeah, so we are basically on a standstill at this point. You know, our plan is April 1st is that we go back to business as usual before COVID. But that being said, you know, if the state comes back and changes, you know, or continues, I guess, what Medicaid and Medicare will pay for, then our providers will continue to be able to provide telehealth services. We're anticipating that they will not do that. We're anticipating because of the mask lift and all of that, that things will go back to pre-COVID. So it will change things. Our providers are aware, but there still may be some ability to provide some televideo services, not telehealth through a telephone. So they're paid at different rates and also what the state will allow. Because at this point they're allowing it, but it could come down to, we don't generally find out until like the last day of the month. So it's always a waiting game for sure. All right, great questions, you guys. If there's anything I can do for y'all, please reach out. Shannon, if there's anything that comes through that you guys would like me to be aware of, please let me know. And if you ever need me to come back on, I'll definitely be glad to.
Will do. I appreciate your time, Laura. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So next I would like to introduce Gary Wilkerson from the When We Love. I just kind of wanted to have him on here so he can tell you guys about the amazing things that he does, the services that he provides for our community, and use him as a possible resource. So Gary, are you there? There's a lot of people on this call.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Oh, there you are.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. For those that don't know, I'm Gary Wilkerson. I've been an employee with DRC Solutions for 5 years. Managed the Healthy Community Collaborative program for them. And then most recently have managed the emergency overflow shelters through COVID. But what you may not know is that my organization that I started in 2012 called When We Love, we own and operate the Flag Building on Lancaster. And the vision we had for this building was to have a community, kind of a faith-based community center where multiple organizations and the community would come together to serve the homeless. So that's what we've done over the last 5 years. DRC Solutions operates and has staff in our building. Recovery Resource Council has a counselor here a couple of days a week currently. And before COVID, we had Fort Worth ISD doing GE classes, New Day Services doing fatherhood classes and helping parents navigate the child support system and the family courts. Those have all gone remote, so they're doing those meetings and classes through Zoom. We hope that some of those will resume here in the next couple of months, but we're not sure yet. We do still have an organization that does anger management and domestic violence classes every Saturday. We also have recovery classes provided by Love Acts. And then we are a liaison for the faith-based community to try and get them involved in finding better ways to serve the homeless in our community. Instead of driving up and down the street throwing food out of their cars, we're trying to work with churches and faith-based organizations to try and come up with better ways to collaborate and provide better resources in a better way to the community. So that's what the Flag Building was meant to be. It's 10,000 square feet, and half of it is office and classroom and conference space, and the other half of it, 5,000 square foot, is a warehouse. And I'll get into what we use that warehouse for here shortly. But what I'm here for today really is to tell you what When We Love does and some of the services we offer that you might not be aware of, and hopefully you'll have a use for them with your clients. So the first thing is that we offer a variety of financial assistance programs. So we've always looked at it as trying to fill gaps within the community where people might have a hard time reaching out for just financial assistance. So we have a transitional service program that provides funding for deposit assistance, application fees, and temporary rental assistance. So if a client is in the process cover the cost of housing, you can email me for any of these services, but you can email and just ask us if we have funds available to cover those types of fees. Many times we do, just like all organizations, it's dependent on funding, but we typically have funding throughout the year. We do a lot of family reunifications. We probably did more during the COVID crisis than any time in the last couple of years. But if you have somebody that's needing to get home, reunite with family or friends, we're just one extra resource that you can put in your Rolodex to call us if you need those services. We also do diversion. So we have funds available to help people either prevent homelessness or divert them from homelessness. Obviously, family reunification is one of those, but you know, sometimes somebody might have lost work and now they're reemployed and they just need help getting into a place. Again, you can email us and there's a possibility we can help with that. One program that probably a lot of people don't know about, and it's just something we don't advertise a lot, but we have a Rides for Hope program, and that program provides gently used or repaired automobiles to help families transition from homelessness or recovering from homelessness to self-sufficiency. So that program, we've given 6 or 7 cars in the last 3 years to families just to help lift them up and give them that extra step to help them provide for themselves. As all of you know, transportation services in Tarrant County isn't great. So if you don't have a vehicle, it can really limit your ability to find a good job, a fair wage job that you can support yourself and your family with. So we're really excited to have the Rides for Hope program. And it doesn't just provide for automobile, but we cover car repairs. We help with insurance for vehicles. We provide bicycles for people that don't have a license. So it's really a great program to help get people up and moving in the right direction. And then some of the other things that we do is our Make It a Home program provides startup kits for people that are transitioning from homelessness into housing. They're similar to the welcome baskets that the TCHC does. But we also provide furniture and household items to help make somebody's apartment a home. And that's where our warehouse comes into play that I told you about earlier. We have 5,000 square foot that is filled with furniture, household goods, artwork, knickknacks, dishes, small appliances, sometimes washers and dryers. And that is all meant to help somebody really restore dignity, is what I call it. We want to help them make that apartment feel like it's really theirs and that they've earned it and they deserve it. And it's all free. We don't charge anything for anything in our warehouse. We even have delivery service available, which we do not charge for. We have some limits on it because of liability insurance. We can't carry things upstairs, for instance. So if you have a client that you're setting up a furniture delivery for, you know, we have to find volunteers or somebody that can help get furniture upstairs. We typically have 150 to 200 startup kits at any given time. And the reason we have those is not just because we wanted to provide it, but this is part of where we get those churches involved and those faith-based organizations involved. We have about 12 churches and community organizations that spend several days a year doing surveys and volunteer projects. And that's what we have them do. We have them build startup kits, personal hygiene kits for the homeless, It's really unusual for us to not have at least 100 startup kits and literally hundreds and hundreds of hygiene kits. So if those are items you need, just feel free to reach out to me at any time. We also have a Thanksgiving outreach where we provide complete Thanksgiving meals to low-income families and primarily people that have recently transitioned away from homelessness. For many of those people, sometimes the Thanksgiving basket that they get, it's the first Thanksgiving meal that they've been able to prepare in years. And so a lot of times they're really excited to get those. And then, of course, our biggest annual event is our Christmas Wish program, where we provide Christmas gifts to families in need. And this last year, we provided for 326 children, about 120 families. We have them submit the wish list for the children, and then we opt them out, make sure that every child has a good Christmas. The last thing I'll tell you about is that for those that are living on the streets or have to leave the shelters during the day, having a place they can go to get cold water or a snack is important. Every day that we're open, on the west side of our building, we leave our warehouse gate accessible, and we have a water and snack station there 5 days a week. Sometimes we do it on weekends, but it's 5 days a week. Anyone can walk up, reach their hand in and grab a bottle of water or two, and they can grab a snack. So in the wintertime, that changes. We actually put out coffee or hot chocolate. So if you know of somebody that you come across says they're hungry or they need a drink and they're in this Lancaster area, just send them to our building. Did anybody have any questions?
Gary, there was a question for you in the chat. It says, is this just for families or single people qualified for the vehicle assistance program?
No, it's the vehicle assistance is available to anyone. All of our services, because we are a small organization, we don't deal directly with the client initially. We ask that the case managers from all the organizations do the vetting for us, and they do the referral. So we ask that you never give the client our number to contact us directly to ask for a service. You ask on their behalf, you advocate for them, but that program is available to individuals or families. It just so happens that the last few that we've had have been single parent families. And Stephanie's asking, is there a website where you can view the qualifications? We do have a website. It's whenwelove.org. And you can look at the Rides for Hope program or our other programs under services provided. And then if you have questions, you can email me and we can share my email with everybody today. Anybody else? Referral process. It's really easy. You just send me an email. Typically what I ask is that you just give me a little background information on your client, what their needs are, and then I'll get back with you and kind of tell you what the policy is and how we go about moving forward. Yes. So Abigail's asking if we can transport furniture. We do provide some moving services. Again, we can't take it upstairs, but we have picked up furniture at Union Gospel Missions Warehouse, at Presbyterian Night Shelter, and actually a couple of furniture stores, and transported that furniture for clients. Again, we're small, so I only have a couple of volunteers that regularly drive our truck. So it's something that we have to schedule. And obviously, if we have an opening, we're going to do it for you. Great question. So they do have to have insurance. However, one of the things about our Rides for Hope program is that we use that as a way to help people finish their roadmaps to success. So we try to work with the case manager to make sure that the person receiving the car has the ability to take responsibility for that car. Owning a vehicle is a big responsibility, and so there's a lot of things that people have to consider before taking on a vehicle. We learned early on that you can't just give somebody a car and everything's going to be okay from that point forward. They're still learning and they're still growing and they're still trying to meet their obligations and provide for their families and overcome whatever barriers have been in their life. So in our program, if we determine that we're going to give a car away, we provide insurance for the first 3 months at no cost to that person. We offer the first 3 months. We put together a contract with the person receiving the car, and it stipulates what they have to do in order to keep the car. So we gradually reduce the services that we're providing for free, and we expect that the person receiving the car can gradually increase their responsibility for the car. So we don't have a time limit in most cases. So I've had people where we've assisted for 6 months, and I've had people where we've assisted for a year, because we just want to make sure that once it's completely turned over to them, that they're able to take care of it and that it's going to do them the most good. And I missed a question there. Somebody just asked.
So it's how would one volunteer, and then must clients be from Fort Worth?
No, well, we cover some of Parker County. So we work with Hearts Full of Love out in Parker County, and several organizations that serve out in Arlington. So they don't have to be from Fort Worth.
And I think the last question for you is, would clients need to find someone to help move their furniture if they live upstairs?
Yes. Yeah, normally we let the case managers handle that, finding the help, just because they have a better, closer relationship with the client.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gary. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. His email is in the chat. You guys, if you have any additional questions, please email him. Thank you so much, Gary.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. So next we're going to move on to Jordan with cleanup. Jordan, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll let you take it over.
Awesome. Well, so thank you for the invite, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with you guys. Shannon, I sent you a PowerPoint. You can feel free to put it up if you want to. It's just, I'm going to talk over it. Just kind of gives some understanding of who cleanup is and what we do. So I started cleanup in May of 2020. Really just kind of felt led. I'm a small business owner, and with COVID happening and things like that, I had a lot of free time. And as a faith-based individual, I just really kind of inquired of what I should be doing with my time. And so I started cleanup. The vision is to take mobile services into the different communities, take them right to where they're at. So, I mean, just kind of being an extension and being a support of what the city's already doing. So again, here's our mission statement that, we already know there's a lot of homeless individuals out there. And so for us, we just believe that providing the opportunity for homeless, widows, and fatherless to receive a meal, treated like family, will inspire personal, mental, physical, and spiritual change. And so the way we do that is, again, taking our services directly to where they're at. And so we service all of DFW, Fort Worth specifically. We're in Fort Worth. I was there this morning from about 7:15 until about 10:30, just up and down. I normally make a loop, kind of down Lancaster, up Vickery, and just kind of checking around to see where everybody's at. Shannon, you can go to the next slide if you'd like. And so here you can see kind of where we started. We started out with, because our mission is we're providing mobile services. We do that through taking motor homes into the different communities. And so until we were able to purchase one, what we did is we built relationships. And so just as Gary said, we didn't want to be another person who was just coming and just dumping things out on the streets and creating a mess. And so what we did is we would go individual by individual, handing out what was needed. We would prepare, at the time when we started, we prepared sandwiches until kind of the rules changed. And then thankfully around July, we had some partners that really came on board and supported what we're doing. And so now all the items that we give away are manufactured sealed directly from individuals like Frito-Lay and Dr. Pepper, Snapple, and things like that. So everything we get is great stuff and can last. And so that's another big thing, is that I constantly tell individuals, the stuff we give you is going to last for a couple of days. So if you're getting a hot meal, enjoy the hot meal, save our stuff. You can have it in a day or two when you need it. And so we started out in May serving about 250 people a week. That quickly transitioned into July, serving well over 1,000 people every week. And we just continue to maintain that. In September, we transitioned into, that's whenever we were able to begin renting motorhomes to take into the community. And so we began doing that phase, as well as maintaining distribution, because maintaining the relationships is key. It's key for a lot of things. It's key for them to utilize our service, because our service is very personal. I mean, getting into somebody's motorhome and getting undressed and taking a shower, it's very personal. And it requires a level of trust, and it requires some authenticity back and forth. And so we continue to maintain that. But it also, we're able to encourage individuals, our neighbors, to go the next step, to inquire them to reach out to Gary or over at True Worth or PNS or wherever. Encourage them, that we're not the only provider, that there's other steps out there. And so again, you can see the second little video that was going on. It's only a couple of seconds. Those are just some of our individuals that we connected with. This unit that we actually purchased in December. And so in December, we did, from December 31st until the end of January, we did 98 showers specifically. We also provide haircuts, mani-pedis, and that's not just for the ladies. The men line up for mani-pedis just like the ladies do. Any type of mobile service like that we can provide, we do that. Obviously, while we're there, we're generally at a certain area for a couple hours at least. And so, I mean, obviously you can come by, you can charge your phone, you can connect up to what we have. Head to the next slide, Shannon, for me. And so here's our goals for 2021. I think there's a short video with that. Is it a video or just a picture? Yeah. So we got some goals for 2021. Our goals are 1,200 showers, 500 haircuts, 250 mani-pedis, 12,000 hygiene kits. Everybody who takes a shower gets a hygiene kit, but we also like to maintain distribution of those at least once a month. 60,000 cleanup kits. That's generally what most people call blessing bags. And so it's just kind of our version of that. It normally has a couple of drinks and, again, just some of those snacks that can be saved for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, really, if they really want to save it. And then 2,500 clothing kits. So when we give out clothes, we really, because our services are pretty personal, and oftentimes we're not coming with a ton of volunteers, just because we want to maintain. We already have a 36-foot long motorhome, so we try to maintain as low profile as we can. And so our clothing kits are distributed as individuals are utilizing our service. They just let us know our size. And so we have everything pre-packaged. So if they're a large top and whatever size bottom, then we just put them together and then they're able to take that with them. In February, we did 99 showers specifically. And then just last week alone, we did 69 showers. So our numbers are really skyrocketing. Again, some of that was due to the weather, the inclement weather in February. And some of it is just getting used to, there's a lot of individuals that are on the move right now. You know, for whatever reason, lots of the city of Dallas and city of Fort Worth are coming in and moving our neighbors around. And so it's just maintaining that contact where everybody is and being able to provide that service. But really, we just want to love our individuals, our neighbors right where they're at, and just take our services right there. And so today I was actually right outside of True Worth. And so I was supporting them at the same time, just telling everybody, you know, if they have the opportunity to go inside, but if not, then I'm right here. So did 5 showers right outside True Worth, and then went down Gary right behind your building and took care of a lot of individuals that were there parked in their vehicles waiting for work. And so, you know, we're in Fort Worth Tuesday and Friday, but the other days of the week, we're just cruising around town. Oftentimes I get people reaching out via social media asking for us to bring the unit. And oftentimes we'll just add it to our schedule. So not sure if there's any questions, or Shannon, if I got everything that you needed me to cover.
Yeah, I think you covered your services well. I know somebody put in the chat that participants that you have provided showers to, that I know love you guys. They say the showers are super and love the hot water. So
yes,
awesome.
Yes,
That's awesome.
Yeah, the hot water is extremely hot. It'll burn your skin off if you're not careful. But that's a good thing. We just want to make sure we can help out any way that we can.
How do they get a hold of you? Can I put your email in the chat?
Yeah, can you make sure it's my cleanup one? It's just jordan@cleanupusa.org.
All right.
Yeah, and anybody can use our services. So when we're cruising around, oftentimes we get flagged down or just kind of hollered at, and everybody gets 15 minutes. And everybody's fairly respectful of that. We've only had a couple people who didn't respect that, but yeah, it's just a great way to support the good that everybody's doing here, and just being able to. We do have a wheelchair lift on it too, so if people are unable to stand up and get up the stairs, we have a wheelchair lift that'll lift them right in. So,
Jordan, you got another question. If people want to volunteer or donate to your organization, how do they do that?
Yeah, it's great. Social media is the best way to get all that contact information. I can drop. We have a link tree that kind of has all that in there, but you can always just email me, and then I can get you connected with all that. We'd love to have more volunteers, just because, just as Gary said, we don't want to be just distributors of items. And so really kind of the next phase that we started doing early this month is picking up trash. We're going to be parked at a place for an hour, 2-3 hours. And so just last night we were over at a location in Dallas, and we picked up 20 45-gallon bags of trash that's no longer there that we take with us. So not only are we cleaning up the individuals on the outside, and hopefully on the inside at the same time, we're also cleaning up their personal area, because we know that the city and the surrounding businesses, that's a big problem. And so if we can help alleviate all these problems while we're there, then that's a big deal too. So. Any other questions, or?
I heard somebody about to ask one question.
Go ahead.
Saying that is so awesome. Awesome program.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
All right. Well, if nobody has any other questions, I will let Jordan go. Jordan, thank you so much for that information. I really appreciate it. I know a lot of people are about to send you emails, so awesome. I really appreciate that. Just a few quick announcements before I let you all go. Again, we have that landlord incentive program. So if you guys need any more information about that, please make sure you're contacting Kimberly Doty. She can help you with that. I will put her email in the chat. Hopefully everybody already has that, but if you don't, there it is. Also, Nathan is creating a work group to tackle the task of coming up with an alternate to the VSPDAT. So please stay tuned for more information on that. When meeting with a veteran, please ask for his or her DD-214. If the DD-214 is unavailable, please check past critical document touch points to find out if a copy of the client's DD-214 has been previously uploaded into HMIS. If the client does not have a DD-214, please order a copy. DD-214 should be uploaded into HMIS upon receipt. Please contact Nathan or Charlotte if you do not know how to request a copy of a DD-214. Also, when meeting with a client, please review the accuracy of the client's VSPDAT. So if the client has a family VSPDAT, but is no longer in possession of his or her children, or does not expect to gain possession of the children shortly after being housed, please complete either the single VI for 18 to 24 or the single adult VI for ages 25 and up. As a reminder, family VSPDATs are only completed for an adult or adults with minor children. Charlotte, do you have anything to add to that?
I do not, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Shoot me an email, or if you want to chat, we can do a quick Zoom call.
Awesome. And then also the Homeless Coalition is starting to host bi-monthly meetings of communication and development partners beginning this Wednesday to discuss community education and engagement initiatives for 2021. And I'm also going to drop in the chat our 2021 events. Does anybody have any additional questions, announcements, cheers, jeers, anything like that? Doesn't look like it. All right, well, I appreciate all of you for joining us today for general meeting. Again, as you guys know, we will record this, and well, it's recording now, but we will post it onto our YouTube channel, or you can access it from our website as well. And as always, I really appreciate all that you guys do, being out there on the front lines, making sure our COC runs the way that it does. We really appreciate and recognize everything that you guys do.